At the tip of Africa lies South Africa's fynbos, an ecosystem of phenomenal diversity that clothes the mountains and lowlands of the Cape. It is one of the world's 6 floral kingdoms. By far the smallest, the Cape Floral Kingdom, and its fynbos is one of the richest. The fynbos is home to an extraordinary number of unique plants. Iridescent sunbirds fly between their blooms and the vegetation exudes a pleasing aromatic scent. The Cape Floral Kingdom has incredibly high plant diversity, with around 9,500 plant species. This amounts to 20% of Africa's flora. Many of these species, a whopping 70%, are also endemic to the region, meaning they live nowhere else on Earth. Some of these endemic fynbos species have such a tiny population or range to begin with that ploughing a field could wipe out the entire world population. The Cape Floral Kingdom is arguably the world's hottest biodiversity hotspot. A biodiversity hotspot is an area that is rich in plants and wildlife that is also threatened with destruction. Despite being globally significant, only 22% of the Cape Floral Kingdom is formally protected in nature reserves. This has led to South Africa having the highest number of extinct plant species of any country worldwide. Extinction means that there are no living individuals of a species left, and it is irreversible. We may be in the midst of the 6th global mass extinction event, driven by unsustainable use of our planet and its resources. For over 40 years, human demand on nature has exceeded the resources our planet can replace. We would need 1.6 Earths to provide the natural resources and ecosystem services we currently use. We cannot continue to destroy habitats, harvest fish faster than they can breed, or emit more carbon than the land and oceans can absorb. This is called Earth overshoot. It has already led to species loss and increasing carbon in the atmosphere. We are in debt to the future, to our children, and to future generations. Cape Town, the city of the Cape Floral Kingdom, is unique. There are few other places on Earth outside the tropics that support such biodiversity. But there are also few other cities home to 306 plant species threatened with extinction. The city of Cape Town has formed around Table Mountain National Park, a World Heritage Site. The city has swallowed up most of the lowlands of the Cape, and only a few natural mountainous areas remain. But some of these fynbos types are also threatened. There are many different types of fynbos, and within the boundaries of Table Mountain National Park, there are 4 main fynbos vegetation types: sandstone fynbos, granite fynbos, shale fynbos, and sand fynbos. Vegetation types are groups of fynbos species that are found together on specific soil types, geologies, and land features like hills, lowlands, and rugged mountain slopes. This is important to understand because fynbos is not all the same. Different areas have different types of fynbos. One of the last patches of lowland fynbos within the city can be found at Tokai Park, and this is where our story begins. Tokai Park is a small peninsula of Table Mountain National Park that extends into Cape Town's southern suburbs, connecting the mountains with the lowlands. This connection makes this site critically important. Also, 2 of the city of Cape Town's fynbos vegetation types that are critically endangered occur at Tokai Park: Peninsula Granite fynbos and Cape Flats Sand fynbos. There is only 14% of Cape Flat sand fynbos left in the world, and less than 1% is conserved. As its name suggests, this fynbos type belongs on the sandy flats on the lowlands. A key part of that 1% that is protected occurs within Tokai Park. There is slightly more Peninsula Granite fynbos remaining. However, there is still only 43% left in the world, with only 30% conserved. As the name suggests, it occurs only on the Cape Peninsula, and is highly favored for vineyards as the soils are reasonably rich, which has led to its destruction despite being so high up on the mountain slopes. A large portion of the Peninsula Granite fynbos also occurs in Tokai Park. How did the fynbos at Tokai Park come to be protected? Tokai Park was not developed by the rapidly sprawling city of Cape Town in the mountain vineyards because for the last century it was used by forestry to grow plantations of alien trees. As the forestry lease for this land came to an end, Tokai Park became part of Table Mountain National Park, and as the plantations were removed block by block, the fynbos was restored. The last of these plantations are contractually required to be harvested by 2024. Why do these trees need to be removed? These plantations of alien trees were originally planted for commercial forestry, with the aim to make money from harvesting the trees and selling the wood and pulp. This is a commercial venture and requires a water use license in South Africa. Where alien trees are not licensed, by law they are obliged to be removed. This is because alien tree invasions and plantations have a negative impact on water, biodiversity, carbon, and fire. Take water. Trees use vast amounts of water compared to fynbos. With their deep roots, these trees use surface and soil water and draw down the water table. Take biodiversity. Alien trees have negative impacts on biodiversity. Research has shown that alien tree infestations are inhospitable seas where little can survive. Many people confuse forests with plantations. Forests and plantations are vastly different. Forests are natural ecosystems that can be thousands of years old and should be protected. In South Africa, we have few forests and they are largely well protected, with 97% conserved. Plantations, on the other hand, are farmed land with fast-growing trees that are regularly harvested for their wood. What about birds of prey? A common argument is that alien trees are good as they bring charismatic birds to areas that wouldn't otherwise have them. Birds of prey like to roost in trees. While we all love these beautiful birds, alien trees increase roosting sites, which increases the number of birds of prey in an area. This means that there are too many predators at the top of the food chain and has knock-on effects down the food chain. Take carbon. It has been widely publicized globally that planting trees will help fight global warming. But it has been shown that tree planting in unsuitable places such as shrublands, like fynbos, and grasslands can lead to habitat loss and no carbon gains. Why? Part of the answer is fire. Fynbos burns naturally every 8 to 12 years. During these fires, all the vegetation above the ground is burnt, including any trees planted. Carbon stored above the ground in these trees and in woody fynbos vegetation would be lost to the atmosphere during the fire. This means that there is no net above-ground carbon gain from planting trees in the fynbos. Compared with hot fires from alien trees, cooler fynbos fires mean that less carbon in the soil is burnt. Therefore, alien trees may result in a net loss of below-ground carbon. So planting trees in fynbos ecosystems would mean that more carbon is released into the atmosphere, which would contribute to increasing global warming. Alien trees also have much more biomass, or wood, and therefore more fuel. When fires come, which they will in fynbos, these fires burn much hotter and more intensely and can pose severe risks to property and lives. Trees do also provide benefits to people, but we need to balance this with their negative impacts. Certainly, alien trees have no place in our protected areas, like Tokai Park, where conservation is supposed to be a core purpose. But there are plenty of other places where trees could be planted, such as within suburbs of the city. Ultimately, the same trees that protected the reserve from development in the past have become the biggest threat to the fynbos in Tokai Park. Now a battle rages in the community, a battle to save the last of the lowland fynbos, while others prefer the alien trees or pines to be retained at Tokai Park and for more trees to be planted for their shade. One alien species replacing 550 indigenous plant species. Amidst the 6th mass global extinction event, who will prevail? Cape Town and Tokai Park is not an island. This is a global problem. If we don't act now to conserve our biodiversity globally, we could lose 1 million species in the next few decades. It starts on your doorstep, not only in faraway places like the Amazon or overfished oceans. We need an Extinction Rebellion. A common argument around keeping or planting shade trees at Tokai Park is one of compromise. Can we compromise and have some areas with trees planted for shaded recreation? This sounds very reasonable on the face of it, but in fact we already have many hectares of shade trees in Cape Town's green belts available for shaded recreation. many of these also on the flats. There is less than 1% of critically endangered Cape Flat sand fynbos protected in nature reserves and national parks. At Tokai Park, this is 100 hectares of Cape Flat sand fynbos, compared with over 18 kilometers of greenbelt. Surely we have already compromised, but not in favor of our lowland fynbos. Some other people in favor of shade propose transitional planting. This suggestion involves planting supposedly indigenous trees in the fynbos at Tokai Park for one cycle of about 40 years, after which the area would be returned to fynbos. Could this be a solution? Transitional planting is not suitable for the area because in fact there are no trees indigenous to the area. There are few trees that grow naturally in fynbos, but no trees that grow naturally in Cape Flat sand fynbos. So although the proposed trees for transitional planting may be indigenous to South Africa and even to the fynbos, they are alien to Cape Flat sand fynbos. This is an important consideration from a biodiversity and ecological point of view. In terms of biodiversity, bringing in these alien trees could have negative and unintended consequences. In terms of local ecology, these trees require more water than the sandy lowlands naturally have. Another solution is ecological restoration. Ecological restoration is people helping a degraded, damaged, or destroyed ecosystem to recover. The ecosystem may have been harmed by alien tree invasions, water pollution, soil erosion, overgrazing, or other impacts. The aim of restoration is to create the conditions to allow nature to do the work in recovering itself. Therefore, ecological restoration is not the same as gardening. It is regulated by international standards and is guided by evidence from scientific research. Working with nature instead of against it, guided by this evidence, gives us the best chance of success. Science has shown that ecological restoration is much more beneficial in terms of fighting global warming by trapping carbon in ecosystems than approaches such as tree planting. This is because ecological restoration is holistic and takes into account ecosystem processes such as natural fire regimes. Indiscriminate tree planting can do more harm than good, as we have seen, not only for biodiversity but also for storing carbon. For Tokai Park, ecological restoration would involve removing the alien trees and restoring the fynbos on the flats and the mountain slopes. There are two different types of ecological restoration: passive and active. Passive restoration is where an ecosystem is allowed to recover without help after pressure has been removed, such as alien trees being cleared or pollution halted. This type of restoration is often done when the damage has not been too severe or been done for too long, like when there are still very good fynbos seeds in the soil. Passive restoration is relatively cheap and efficient. Fortunately, good fynbos seed banks still exist at Tokai, making this a viable option. Active restoration is where the ecosystem is assisted more to recover, by bringing in native plant seeds or seedlings. This is often done when damage has been more severe or for longer periods. Often it means that there are many alien seeds in the soil, which can choke the fynbos seeds. Active restoration is expensive and takes time. Fortunately, at Tokai Park, with its passive restoration option, active restoration is only needed for a few extinct in the wild and critically endangered species. All fynbos restoration needs to be kicked off by a fire, a restoration method called a restoration burn. This is because the fynbos seeds in the soil need a signal to start growing, and many use smoke or heat as their signal. With the removal of the alien tree plantations block by block over the last 20 years, the restoration success in the area is remarkable. For the lowlands of Tokai Park alone, in the Cape Flat sand fynbos, 550 plant species have returned, 42 of which are threatened with extinction. Species such as the flat silky puff, retro Cape gorse, trident spiderhead, and blackbeard sugarbush can be found at Tokai Park. Wildlife such as Cape fox, porcupine, caracal, and puff adders are now found here. Ecological restoration gives us hope for our ecosystems, but what can you do to help? So far, 100 hectares of Cape Flats sand fynbos has been restored at Tokai Park on the lowland flats, with 25 hectares to go. However, even the areas restored need to be maintained annually to remove any alien trees that try to grow back. In the mountain slopes, for the peninsular granite fynbos at Tokai Park, 400 hectares is in the process of being restored, with about 50 hectares to be cleared of very dense invasions, mainly in the rivers. The Friends of Tokai Park are a WESA Friends group and non-profit that aims to conserve the natural plant and animal life at Tokai Park for the enjoyment and recreation of all, both current and future generations. Friends of Tokai Park volunteers run weekly alien tree clearing events to restore Tokai Park. These events are open to the public and cater to different levels of strength and fitness. Options range from chopping alien trees on the lower mountain slopes, or hacking, to hand pulling up young alien tree seedlings on the sandy flats. You can become a member of the Friends of Tokai Park, join our alien hacking events, adopt a plot with your school, eco club, church, interest group or society, or make a donation. If you do not live near Tokai Park, then why not join a WESA Friends group near you, or help start one for a local nature reserve in need. The United Nations has branded this decade the Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Now is your chance to make a difference.